Have you ever felt certain that you had met the love of your life, only for that person to suddenly pull away? No explanations, no clear reasons, just distance that leaves you feeling as though everything has fallen apart. It can feel as if your heart has been pulled from your chest. You check your phone, waiting for a message that never arrives. You replay every shared moment, questioning where things changed. The pain runs so deep it seems too large to contain. The separation between twin flames before reunion often brings pain, confusion, and a deep emptiness that is difficult to describe. Many assume that this withdrawal means the love has ended. However, from a spiritual perspective, and through Carl Jung's depth psychology, this distance serves a higher purpose. It is a period when each soul is called to confront the shadow, heal unresolved wounds, and absorb lessons that can only be learned in solitude. Paradoxically, by stepping away, twin flames are preparing for union. Jung believed that life's most profound encounters occur when two individuals are simultaneously drawn into the process of individuation. Separation becomes an archetypal necessity so that this individuation can unfold without interference. In this video, you will understand the spiritual and psychological reasons why twin flames separate before their final union. More importantly, you will learn to recognize the signs that this period of distance is nearing its end and that reunion is approaching. First, we must clarify what a twin flame connection means through the lens of Jungian depth psychology. The internet is filled with romantic fantasies and hopeful interpretations of this idea. For Jung, a genuine soul connection occurs when two people recognize one another on the level of universal archetypes. You look at someone and perceive not only their personality, but an energetic pattern that resonates with the deeper layers of your psyche. A twin flame activates your individuation process, while reflecting both your brightest qualities and your deepest shadows. They are not here to fill emotional gaps or solve existential struggles. Their presence accelerates your journey toward becoming fully who you are meant to be in this lifetime. This recognition happens because both individuals are responding to the same transformative archetype during the same stage of life. It can feel as though your soul arranged a meeting to catalyze mutual awakening. Yet what many misunderstand about this connection is that it does not arrive to create comfort. It arrives to promote growth. Jung observed that the most transformative experiences are rarely comfortable. They are meaningful and necessary, but not easy. The twin flame encounter is one such experience, capable of reshaping both lives involved, whether or not it leads to a traditional relationship. The initial recognition is only the opening movement of a much more complex process. When you meet, something dormant awakens in both of you. Creativity, spirituality, courage, vulnerability, or a clearer sense of purpose. However, this awakening carries an intensity that can overwhelm psychological systems not yet prepared to sustain it. At that point, separation is orchestrated, not as punishment, but as protection, not as an ending, but as preparation. It allows both individuals to build the inner capacity required to maintain a connection of this depth without losing themselves. The first spiritual reason for separation relates to what Jung described as psychic inflation. When two people recognize each other at a soul level, there is a tendency to merge in ways that compromise individuality. Boundaries can blur, and healthy psychological development may be disrupted. Jung studied the risks of psychic fusion in intense relationships. When identification becomes too deep, individuals may enter what he called participation mystique, a state in which personal identity dissolves into a shared identity. While this may sound romantic, it can be psychologically harmful. In this state, distinguishing between your own emotions and the other person's becomes difficult. Decisions may be made not for individual growth, but to preserve the fusion. Personal projects, meaningful relationships, and even essential aspects of personality can be sacrificed to maintain the bond. Separation interrupts this fusion before it becomes destructive. It is as if the message is clear. Each person must first become whole independently before uniting in a balanced way. Distance compels both individuals to rediscover their identity, goals, and internal sources of strength and meaning. During this period, it may feel as though part of you has been removed. In many ways, that is accurate. The part of you that depended on the other's presence must now learn to stand on its own. This process is painful, yet it cultivates the emotional independence required for mature union. Jung understood that transformative relationships are possible only between individuals who have at least partially advanced in their individuation. And two incomplete individuals do not create wholeness. They often create dependency. Two relatively whole individuals create synergy that expands both lives. Separation becomes the decisive test. Can you sustain your connection with yourself without the other person present? Can you access your inner light without relying on their reflection? Can you experience self-love without external validation? When these questions can be answered with an authentic yes, reunion becomes possible, not from need, but from conscious choice between two autonomous individuals who choose to share their growth. The second spiritual reason for separation involves divine timing and individual preparation. Jung believed that an archetypal intelligence operates through synchronistic events in life, a wisdom beyond conscious awareness that organizes meetings and separations according to developmental needs. Each person follows a unique timeline for psychological and spiritual growth. You may recognize your twin flame before you are prepared to sustain a union, or you may feel ready long before they are. Through separation, these timelines gradually synchronize so that reunion occurs when both have reached the necessary maturity. During this time apart, each person is being prepared in specific ways. You may be learning to establish healthy boundaries, communicate clearly, and love without possessiveness. They may be healing past relational wounds, strengthening self-esteem, or learning to trust their intuition. These preparations often cannot unfold while together because the intensity of the bond accelerates emotional processes that require space for proper integration. Healing resembles tending to a wound. It needs protection and stillness to recover. Jung noted that individuation frequently demands conscious solitude, periods when a person withdraws from external influence to deepen self-connection. Twin flame separation can be viewed as a call to this solitude, an invitation to explore your inner world without distraction. In this phase, you may uncover aspects of yourself that were hidden within the relationship dynamic. Dormant talents may emerge. Family patterns may be addressed. A clearer life direction may form. These developments enrich who you are and what you contribute when reunion occurs. Divine timing also considers practical realities: financial stability, location, family duties, career development. These external elements often align during separation, so that, upon reconnection, circumstances support rather than obstruct the bond. Separation may last months or years. There is no fixed timeline because each pair requires distinct preparation. What matters is trusting that a deeper wisdom guides the process, one that supports the highest possible form of union. The third spiritual reason for separation involves what Jung identified as shadow integration. The shadow contains aspects of the personality that were repressed or denied during ego development. One essential function of the twin flame connection is to mirror these shadow elements so they can be integrated consciously. When you meet your twin flame, they reflect not only your strengths, but also your most challenging traits. The qualities that irritate or unsettle you often point to disowned parts of yourself. This mirroring can be deeply uncomfortable and explains why such relationships are frequently more demanding than conventional ones. It can feel as though the other person intuitively detects your areas of resistance and activates them repeatedly. Separation occurs when shadow activation becomes too intense to process within the relationship itself. It is a signal that both individuals must integrate what they see in each other independently before harmony is possible. During separation, you gain the opportunity to examine your projections without emotional interference. You can reflect on the behaviors that disturbed you and honestly explore where similar patterns may exist within you, even in subtle or disguised forms. For example, if you were frustrated by how they reacted when feeling insecure, you can use the separation period to examine your own defensive responses when your sense of security is challenged. If you judge their need for attention, you can explore your own subtle patterns of seeking validation. Jung taught that what we criticize in others often reflects what we have not accepted within ourselves. Shadow work during separation requires withdrawing these projections and acknowledging that the person who challenged you most also revealed hidden aspects of your own nature. This integration is essential because relationships built on unconscious projections are unstable. When you project your shadow onto someone else, you are not relating to who they truly are, but to disowned parts of yourself. Integration allows you to see the other person clearly, rather than as a container for unresolved issues. When both individuals complete this personal shadow work, reunion occurs between two people who are more self-aware and capable of authenticity. Behaviors that once created tension can now be approached with understanding because you recognize the shared human experience behind them. The fourth spiritual reason for separation relates to what Jung called the transcendent function, the psychological ability to hold opposites in creative tension without rushing to resolve them. This capacity represents advanced psychological maturity and is essential for relationships between highly developed individuals. Twin flame connections often activate strong paradoxes. You may feel profound love and intense irritation toward the same person. You may experience both a sense of wholeness and a deep need for personal space. You may feel certain about the bond, yet unsure how to manage it. The ego typically attempts to resolve these contradictions by choosing one side. Either you love or you do not. Either you stay or you leave. Either the connection is genuine or it is an illusion. However, profound connections are more complex and require the ability to tolerate ambiguity and contradiction. Separation compels you to build this ability. You learn to feel connected to someone who is physically absent. You practice holding love alongside non-attachment. You discover how to honor a spiritual bond while fully engaging in your own individual life. This lesson is one of the most valuable aspects of the twin flame experience. You realize that loving someone does not require possessing them. Spiritual unity can coexist with emotional independence. A sense of timeless connection can exist even within changing physical circumstances. Jung observed that individuals who develop the transcendent function form richer and less reactive relationships. They do not require perfection or predictability to offer love. They accept complexity without attempting to control it. During separation, you may also be learning to balance receptivity with assertiveness, independence with interdependence, openness with energetic boundaries. These skills are rarely demanded in ordinary relationships, but are fundamental for sustaining spiritually intense connections. As this function develops, you begin to see separation not as a disruption, but as part of the connection itself. Separation and union become two movements within the same process, each necessary for full development. When you can hold these paradoxes without anxiety, you are prepared for a reunion that does not eliminate creative tension, but uses it as fuel for growth. The relationship becomes a space for mutual evolution rather than a search for security. The fifth spiritual reason for separation involves purification and elevation of individual vibrational frequency. Although Jung did not use energetic language, he understood that deep psychological states carry distinct qualities and that transformative relationships require inner harmony. At the initial meeting, differences in spiritual development, emotional healing, or clarity of purpose may exist. These disparities can create dissonance that makes early union difficult or even counterproductive. Separation gives each person the opportunity to elevate their internal state. This may involve consistent spiritual practice, therapy to address past trauma, development of creative gifts, alignment with life purpose, or the ongoing effort to become more integrated and conscious. During this period, long-standing issues may begin to resolve naturally. Patterns that once felt fixed may shift with less resistance. Energy that was previously consumed by sustaining the intensity of the connection can now support personal growth. Jung observed that individuation raises what he described as the energy level of the personality. As you become more authentic and aligned with your true nature, your presence changes. You become more grounded, more inspiring, and more capable of positively influencing others. This personal elevation is important because twin flame connections often serve a broader purpose beyond the individuals involved. They can model conscious relationship dynamics and demonstrate more evolved forms of relating. When two individuals who have elevated themselves reconnect, they create a shared field stronger than either could generate alone. It resembles two refined sources of light joining to create greater illumination, benefiting not only themselves but also those around them. The purification phase may also include what mystics describe as dark nights of the soul, periods of profound inner release that strip away what is inessential and reveal deeper authenticity. The absence of the twin flame can trigger these cycles of symbolic death and rebirth. The sixth spiritual reason for separation concerns the development of individual mission or life purpose. Jung believed each person enters the world with a unique vocation, a contribution only they can make. So good deep relationships should ultimately support the discovery of this purpose. Paradoxically, the intensity of a twin flame bond can overshadow personal mission. You may become so focused on sustaining the relationship that you lose contact with your own aspirations and spiritual calling. Separation creates space to rediscover what you are here to accomplish independently of any partnership. It becomes a period to explore neglected talents, revisit postponed interests, and cultivate the inner stillness necessary to recognize your authentic direction. Many individuals uncover creative, spiritual, or service-oriented callings during this time. They may begin writing, creating art, teaching, guiding others, or engaging in work that benefits the community. Energy previously invested in the relationship dynamic can now flow into personal expression. Jung emphasized that individuation naturally leads to service. As you become more integrated, your unique gifts emerge and seek expression. Mature relationships support these gifts rather than compete with them. When twin flames reunite after clarifying their individual purposes, they often find their missions complement one another. They may collaborate in ways neither could achieve alone or strengthen each other's independent contributions. This parallel growth ensures reunion arises from creative abundance rather than emotional lack. The bond transforms from a search for personal completion into a partnership grounded in shared contribution. You may also discover that your life work is directly informed by lessons from the twin flame journey. The insights gained through separation can become tools for guiding others or inspiring meaningful creative expression. The seventh spiritual reason for separation represents the highest test of spiritual maturity, the ability to love without attachment. This lesson demands a depth of growth rarely required in conventional relationships. From a spiritual perspective, attachment is not pure love, but a subtle form of possessiveness rooted in fear. When attachment dominates, love becomes mixed with anxiety, control, and emotional dependence. Separation directly challenges this tendency. Do you truly love the person, or are you attached to the intensity of the experience? Can you wish for their well-being even if it does not include you? Can you keep your heart open without attempting to force circumstances? This is a demanding spiritual test because the twin flame bond is often the most intense connection you have known. Releasing even this attachment signifies profound inner development. Jung studied mystical traditions that emphasized non-attachment and integrated these principles into his understanding of mature psychology. For him, loving without possession reflected transcendence of ego limitations. During separation, you practice loving in absence. You replace pleading with blessing. You trust timing rather than attempt control. You cultivate inner wholeness while honoring the significance of the connection. Detached love carries a different quality. It is calmer, broader, and more enduring. It does not deteriorate with time or circumstance. It does not turn into resentment when expectations are unmet. It does not require reciprocity to keep flowing. When you cultivate this form of detached love, an important shift occurs. You become spiritually attractive because your presence no longer carries desperation or subtle manipulation. People are naturally drawn to those who love freely, without hidden motives or unmet emotional demands. Often the twin flame senses this energetic change from a distance and may feel drawn back when the space feels genuinely safe. However, by this stage, you are no longer waiting anxiously. If reunion happens, you welcome it. If it does not, you continue living as a whole and loving individual. The eighth spiritual reason for separation involves karmic synchronization and the resolution of past relational patterns. Jung, while cautious about literal interpretations of reincarnation, acknowledged that deep psychological patterns can appear to extend beyond a single lifetime, suggesting influences that transcend personal experience. Twin flame connections frequently activate patterns that feel like past life memories requiring healing or completion. Power struggles, loyalty conflicts, betrayals, promises, or unfinished commitments may surface with intense emotion, even if they lack clear explanation in the present context. Separation may be necessary, so each person can work through these karmic patterns individually, rather than repeating destructive cycles. It is as though old scripts must be released before a new story can be written together. During this period, you may experience the release of guilt, fear, or resentment that has no obvious source in your current life. You may feel forgiveness for situations that never occurred in this lifetime, yet seem significant for your growth. You may also uncover talents or affinities that feel rooted in something deeper than present experience. Carl Jung observed that the collective unconscious contains archetypal patterns that can feel like personal memories. Whether understood as past lives or deep psychic structures, These patterns require conscious integration, so future relationships can emerge from clarity rather than repetition. Karmic resolution can also include balancing inner masculine and feminine energies, healing wounds connected to intimacy, or releasing unconscious vows that interfere with commitment. These processes unfold more effectively within the protected space of solitude. When both individuals complete this clearing, reunion can arise from a freer and more stable foundation. Emotional triggers that once generated conflict may lose their intensity. The relationship can express its highest potential without being undermined by unresolved patterns. Karmic synchronization also ensures that reunion occurs only when both are ready to create entirely new dynamics rather than reenact outdated ones that were already transcended through growth. As you begin to understand these spiritual reasons for separation, a natural question emerges. How do you know when this preparation phase is nearing completion? Jung identified several indicators that a person is approaching greater readiness for conscious relationship. The first sign is a growing sense of inner wholeness that does not depend on external conditions. You feel fundamentally at peace with yourself and capable of finding meaning in life whether you are in a partnership or not. This peace is genuine, not defensive. The second sign is the ability to speak about your twin flame without strong emotional charge. You can acknowledge the importance of the connection without anxiety, sadness, or longing dominating your thoughts. You can sincerely wish them well without needing updates about their life. This neutrality reflects emotional processing. The third sign is renewed creativity and enthusiasm for personal goals. Energy once tied to longing or pain becomes available for growth, expression, and contribution. You feel guided and motivated regarding your own path. The fourth sign is an increased ability to form healthy connections with others. You are no longer comparing everyone to your twin flame or using relationships to distract from separation discomfort. You relate from authenticity rather than emptiness. The fifth sign is genuine compassion for your twin flame's journey. Even if that journey does not currently include you, you understand they are undergoing necessary development, and you respect that process. The sixth sign is a change in the quality of your dreams and intuition. Guidance begins to focus on your own next steps rather than the relationship, indicating that your inner wisdom is functioning independently. The seventh sign is a subtle but consistent sense that something new is unfolding. This may not necessarily mean reunion, but it signals expansion. New opportunities, connections, or experiences aligned with who you have become. When several of these signs appear together, you may be nearing the end of individual preparation. However, the objective is not to force reunion, but to remain open to whatever form the next chapter takes. It is essential to recognize that not every twin flame connection leads to physical reunion in this lifetime. Jung understood that some profound encounters serve specific purposes of awakening and transformation without requiring long-term material continuity. In some cases, twin flames reunite for lasting partnerships after completing their growth. In others, they reconnect briefly for closure or confirmation of mutual evolution. And sometimes the bond remains primarily spiritual, influencing both lives without physical manifestation. All of these outcomes are valid. The true value lies not in the final result, but in the transformation that occurred. If you became more conscious, loving, authentic, and aligned with purpose through the experience, then the connection fulfilled its primary function. Jung observed that individuals who undergo deep transformation through intense relationships often develop greater capacity to love in general. They strengthen emotional and spiritual qualities that enrich all future connections. If you are currently experiencing twin flame separation, understand that this is not punishment or error. It is an opportunity to become more complete, aware, and loving. It is an invitation to realize that you do not require another person to be whole. Yet you may choose to share that wholeness when timing aligns. The twin flame journey ultimately leads you back to yourself. It uses the intensity of the bond as a catalyst for awakening your highest potential. It teaches you to love beyond possessiveness, dependency, and fear. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust the intelligence moving through your circumstances. Even when wisdom appears as absence rather than presence, separation may be the very gift your soul needed to fully unfold. When you blossom into your authentic self, whatever comes next will be appropriate. Whether it is reunion with that individual or a fulfilling life that includes other meaningful forms of love, you will be prepared to give and receive love from wholeness rather than lack. True union begins within. When you unite with your own soul, when every other union becomes possible from completeness. That is the deepest gift of the twin flame experience, the reminder that you are already whole. If this message resonated with you and reflected your own journey, share in the comments. I trust the sacred process. It helps me know the message reached you. If you would like to explore this path further, I have 2 ebooks available: 21 Days of Transformation with Carl Jung and Soul Survival Manual with Carl Jung's teachings. These resources guide you step by step through Jung's most powerful methods to navigate this phase with clarity and strength. The link is in the first pinned comment below the video. Thank you for watching until the end. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.